Hey everyone, Selwyn here from Wynn Strength. On today's video, I'm going to go over a couple of metrics that will help you track progress for a training program. This will be slightly skewed towards more of a hypertrophy style of training, or if you're looking to gain muscle and lose some body fat, this will be a good way to track any body composition changing goals. If you're looking at strength-based performance outcomes, that's going to be pretty simple. Just look at weight on the bar, and if that's going up, you're good. If it's going down, you're not doing too well. Here are 3 different segments that you can enter into your training log. I would say track them once a month at the very least. Kind of broken them down into 3 segments here. As you can see, you have body measurements, training metrics, and then finally some subjective measurements and metrics here that you can use to help gauge. First off, we're going to start off with body measurements. This will be helpful if you're obviously trying to gain weight, lose weight, put on muscle, lose fat, things of that nature. Obviously, first point is going to be your body weight. That's pretty simple to track. Some people might say that it doesn't account for muscle mass, depending on how much you ate before. Did you have a lot of carbs before, a low carb day, this and that. But the number on the scale isn't necessarily what we're looking for. It's the moving average of the weight, and weight change is really what we're looking after. You want to track your weight daily and take it at the same time every day. Ideally, this will be in the morning, either first thing when you wake up on an empty stomach, or after a bowel movement in the morning. That way it's consistent. You're not taking weight measurements in the morning and then at the night time and then middle of the day, before a meal, after a meal. You want to remove any variables that can affect your weight, and taking them at the same time every day at least removes a couple of variables. The reason we want to track it every day, again, is to get that good average over the course of the week, and that's going to give you weekly and monthly averages to see how your weight is changing. Because again, long-term weight management is the goal here. We're not really looking to lose 10 pounds in a day, looking to lose maybe a pound a week, or 1 to 2 pounds a week. And that's a nice conservative way to adjust weight. You really don't want to be looking to gain or lose any more than that if you don't have to. So next up is going to be body fat percentage. Easily measure that with some of those body impedance calculator weights, weight scales on Amazon. Pick them up for around 10 to 20 bucks. I'll leave a link below for a couple of options. This is one of those ones where you might say it's inaccurate, but if you use the same scale all the time, again, the actual number itself isn't what we're after. It's the average, and the movement up or down is what we're really more concerned about. So as long as we're using the same broken ruler, we're going to get an accurate measurement of how we're changing on that same broken ruler. Obviously, trends up are going to be good. Trends down are going to be good, and trends up aren't going to be that good. Next off, we're going to take some circumference measurements. Again, this is going to be important if you're doing hypertrophy style training or bodybuilding style training. You obviously want to see your thighs and upper arms grow in size and your waist shrink in size. There are a couple of health risks associated with higher levels of waist circumference. So that's one reason to measure your waist more than for some aesthetic goals. I believe it's 36 or 40 inches. I'll put some text below. But if your waist measures over that, it has been associated with with some negative health outcomes. Whether that's causative or not, it's just that correlation between the two. If you can reduce that, why not? So with the circumferences, changes in the circumferences aren't daily, so we're not going to really need a daily measurement of our circumferences of anything really. This will be one of those monthly measurements, so just once a month. Track this. Around the waist, we're going to get a tape measure, stand tall and upright, and then measure that around the belly button. For the thighs, same thing, stand upright. We want to take that midpoint between your hip crease and your kneecap. First couple of times, I would say get a ruler or use the tape measure, find the exact midpoint between the knee and the hip joint, and then just mark that so you know where it is. That way each time you can get that same accurate measurement. Over time, you're not going to have to do that every time. And then with the upper arms, again, unflexed, relaxed, but still standing tall and upright. We're going to measure that midpoint between your elbow and your shoulder joint and trying to stay consistent between each and every time. The reason we don't really care about tracking our flexed arms or our flexed thighs is because The muscle fiber is going to increase in size anyway with hypertrophy. You don't really need to flex to show that increased growth. And we really want to be able to, again, keep that consistency. Were you flexing harder this time than you were last time? Things like that are going to affect that measurement there. So again, that will be the bare minimum for body measurements, I would say. If you want to get into things like your neck size, your neck circumference, your forearm circumference, your calf circumference, your upper chest circumference too, you can add that in there, but I don't think it is absolutely necessary. Moving on to training metrics, this is one where it'll kind of help with both strength and hypertrophy training. Obviously daily tonnage and weekly tonnage is going to be a good factor here. Are you lifting more this week than you did last week? It's going to be easy with that, especially when we're doing hypertrophy training. We're going to be varying things like reps and load. So between those two, are we lifting more than we did in sheer volume? And that just comes out to weight times reps performed. So if you did 3 by 12, 3 times 12, 36, and times that by 135, that'll get your overall tonnage. And then next week, if you did 3 by 15 at 135, you lifted the same weight, but you lifted it more times, so your tonnage is higher that time than it was the week before. So you're improving there. Again, that's going to vary week to week, but we're after that monthly overall average increase or decrease in performance. Next is going to be our RPE averages. So rate of perceived exertion. In one of the upcoming videos, I'm going to go into a deep dive as to what RPE is and how to use it and why you shouldn't use it and when it's appropriate and when it isn't appropriate. But for the meantime, if you are tracking RPE in your training, something I recommend doing, you're going to want to keep those RPE averages in mind and make sure that you're either sticking within the training recommendations for RPE, or if you're training more intuitively and by feel, that the RPE isn't blowing out each and every week. You're not going to tens every week. That's just going to be bad. And that's for the movement. And then with the session RPE, that's a good thing to track, because that'll tell you how stressful each session is overall. And when you average that out over a week, you can see, am I pushing 10s each and every week? You probably don't want to be pushing 10 RPE 10 sessions week in, week out, because that's just going to lead to more burnout, and it's going to be more stress than your body can adapt to and recover from. So now we're going to move on to some more subjective metrics. Again, I think you should still measure this, even though you might not say it's hard and fast like these two. It's not objective. I think it'll help paint the overall picture and help you assess if your training is going as you want it to. The first point is going to be your mental attitude towards training. I think this is important. If you're excited about training, that's great. Sometimes that's going to wane and wane, but if it's not an overall trend of hating training, then you're on a good path there. If we all get days where you don't want to work out and we go in anyway. They should be outliers. When they start to become more of the norm, where if you're like for the last 3 weeks, 8 out of the 12 training sessions have been I haven't looked forward to, then there's something I need to look for in the training. Do I need to take a rest week? Am I training too hard? Do I need to change training programs? This will be a little like that canary in the coal mine as to if you're headed towards a high stress moment, or there's other things in your life that are affecting your training in ways that you can't consciously account for. Second to that will be your energy levels. I know when I'm highly stressed, I don't sleep as well. If I train too much, like if I go over that productive level of training, then my sleep declines and I'm not feeling that great the next day. If I'm hitting perfect training stress, then my energy levels kind of just stay pretty constant. You might feel a little tired, but again, if those one-offs are going to be fine. Again, all of these, we're looking at averages. We're trying to get those trend lines out because we want to eliminate the noise of that up and down movement of the day-to-day and get our monthly kind of performance averages to see if we're going in that right direction. So energy levels over the course of the day, if we can track that daily in a little log, then that's going to be good. Even if you just keep a mental note, I was like overly tired today, or was like fine. Even if you just track this before every training session, track both of these before every training session, have like a scale out of 10. 0 being I hate training, 10 being really enjoyed training today, and then energy levels, obviously 0 to 10. Did I need like 1,000 cups of coffee to get into the gym today? And then 10 being I didn't need any caffeine at all, or I just feel really perky and I really want to work out today. And when you judge that over the course of you get that trend line out, you're going to be in a better place than you were if you didn't measure these things. And then from an aesthetics point of view, these two things, how do your clothes fit is going to be good. The dryer isn't going to shrink your clothes. If you're drying clothes, it should be dried. If you're gaining weight, then your clothes are going to fit a certain way. Obviously, a nice one is jeans, because they don't really stretch over time. So if your jeans are tighter or looser, that's going to be a good little easy gauge to see if you're gaining weight or losing weight, depending on which path you want to get down. So finally, the mirror. This might be a little sensitive, but when you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? If you don't, then you know that you need to keep working. At the same time, do you look better than you did last year? If so, then you're on the right track. So it's kind of that subjective measurement. Are we happy with what we see in the mirror? If not, or are you seeing things that you shouldn't? Another way to do this rather than the mirror is to take pictures of yourself and date them. That way you can look back over time and see the progress that you've made from before to now. It's gonna be a really good way to track progress, kind of add that objective layer to a subjective measurement, because when you look at ourselves day in, day out, we don't really notice those changes. When we look back at photos from a year ago, sometimes we're like, oh, was that what I looked like last year? Wow, I didn't notice that. Anyway, hope that helps you track your training progress. Add it in. You don't have to add all of these in, but I'm definitely going to be adding these in just for my own selfish reasons, because I want to see how training progress works. When I do these training program reviews, we'll do before using these same metrics and after using these same metrics. That way we have the same broken ruler to measure progress up and down. Hopefully that helps you. This has been Sam from Wynn Strength, and remember, a better life through strength. I guess we gotta wait for that plane to go by.